Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Flying and Eating. Today, let's go somewhere and do something, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and on today's adventure, we're going here, Japan. Well, it says Osaka, but we're not. We might be going to Osaka ultimately. We're flying to Tokyo today. Anyway, yes, I'm here in Chicago, my home, represented there, and yeah, finally, we get to go back to Japan. So now we're going to use the clear lane, which is over there, and we're going to head over to the United Club Lounge because I made sure to get here early this time because I was a little annoyed in the last few rounds, which was really my own fault. There's security there, no problems whatsoever. So let's walk on to the United Club and spend a lot of time hanging around. I'm not used to being here this early. I like to kind of jackknife it in case that wasn't obvious to you guys watching the videos. But when you check a bag, you don't have that luxury of just putting yourself through an incredible amount of stress. You have to actually be calm and relaxed. It sucks. All right, let's make ourselves an espresso, and then over there we'll hit up the buffet, which the items have not changed, which is great because I love those little caprese croissant sandwiches. Those are amazing. So I'm officially back here in Tokyo. I'm exhausted, didn't really sleep a whole lot. The flight in general was pretty good. Food was okay. Hard to think I've been up for like the entire flight, which is about 13 hours. This is my 16th time entering Japan. For real. Although this is the first time ever that I've flown to Haneda. Usually I end up at Narita or Osaka. Anyway, we're gonna go do customs, which is probably a little different than it was the last time I was here, but we'll see. Yeah, it's funny, if I had flown in Narita, I actually could have shown you guys like a whole bunch of stuff, because I got really used to that airport, because Narita is actually a United hub, although technically it's not allowed to be because of how international laws work, but it's totally a United hub. Haneda is not, but they've started recently flying here a lot more frequently because I guess Delta dropped a lot of their routes here, and so United scooped them up. Because the thing is, if you ever fly to Japan, if you ask me, if you're flying to Tokyo specifically, Haneda is the superior airport because it's basically like right in downtown. If you're flying to transit, Narita is the superior airport, because Narita is actually the better airport. It's just in a terrible location because it's like an hour northeast of the city, and there is nothing out there. They built it in a farm, and there's nothing else over there. It's literally just an entire town that is an airport. I just cleared Japanese customs for the first time, and since the very beginning of 2020, I was technically here, only for like one night in Yokohama. Anyway. Now I'm waiting for my bag, and at the time I'm here, I want to advise people, make sure you bring a pen, because the Japanese still like you to fill out like a little like customs form and stuff. You have to fill out 2 of them. So I went past the first security line. Now I have to go through a second one where they kind of double check my bags, although I've never really been stopped there. But also currently they're using something called MySOS, which is like an app to check like, frankly, COVID stuff. Although it's my understanding they're about to drop that, so that may not apply to you. It may not even apply by the time this video is uploaded, but I don't know. So I've got my bag now, which means I have to do the second stage of customs. Like I said, I'm past the point of like where they stamp your passport and all that, but here they kind of check your bags over again. There's a separate form for this. The Japanese are very specific about individual forms to facilitate individual things. It's just best to follow the order. Okay, no problems there. Got through the clearance section. All she did was just kind of ask me once again, like, wait, why are you here? Tourism. Okay, here's your passport. Done. Now, I gotta go find the train and get out of here. So what we're gonna do here is ride the Kaikyu line near as close as it goes to my hotel, and then switch trains. Basically, if you have this like one card which you can buy I bought this years ago, the Icoca card. I even have a little fancy Dreamcast case for it. How neat is that? Ooh, ah. Anyway, so you can recharge it on those machines over there with cash, yen specifically, obviously. I'm gonna see how much mine still has, but I brought some, I have like 8,000 yen in cash that I have from last time, but primarily I stick to credit cards here just like I do everywhere. Okay, so as it turns out, I had about 1,300 yen on here, which used to be like $13. Now it's like $8. The yen has tanked. Anyway, I added 1,000 yen. We're good to go. Now, I highly recommend getting the Icoca card for a lot of reasons, but this would be the most obvious. Done. Scanned. We're good to go. And now I'm on my way. It's actually much easier because the card essentially keeps track of all the currency for you. You scan it when you go in, you scan it when you get out. You know, I have actually been here once. I had to stop here and pick up, I was coming in from Narita and a buddy of mine was coming from Haneda, and I had to stop here and find him. So I've been here. That right there, as it says, takes you to the train line. So you can actually take, I think, this train line all the way up to Narita if you really want to, but we're not doing that. So I just got off the train. I have to switch to a second train. I'm sure this is overwhelming to a lot of people, or it would be theoretically, but it's actually much easier than you think. First of all, if you're an English speaker, you'll notice a lot of stuff is in English, and that actually includes the trains. They'll say messages in Japanese, but they'll also say them in English. A lot of the time, it also say stuff in Korean, but pay attention to it. It's actually surprisingly easy. Google Maps will even tell you exactly where you have to go, and even which train line you have to be on, and what train platform. It even updates and tells you which, you know, time is the best to leave. It's actually very easy. And check this out, I'm at a place called Tully's Coffee, which I'm sure a lot of you recognize the brand, but they have actual store chains here. And because I'm filming this on Halloween, today is Halloween here, they have Harry Potter themed coffee specifically. How cool is that? Harry Potter mince pie latte and the Harry Potter mince pie milk tea, as well as a whole bunch of just little cutesy bears and mugs and merch and stuff like that. Japan, man. So in my case, we're going to be transferring to the Minatomiri line, forgive my pronunciation, but once again, it's the same basic process. We're just going to go through here, and we're going to scan, boom, and it deducted some money. So you saw that it deducted 333 yen. See, the way it knows is that it bases it on your entry point and your exit point, and then it just deducts from there. So that was the moment I was billed, not until then. Anyway, so there's the Minatomori line. Again, Minatomiri line, and it's over there. When you look at how people stand on the escalator, in every part of Japan, you stand on the left if you intend to just stand. If you intend to walk up, you go up on the right side. The exception to this would be Osaka, where everybody stands on the right and everybody walks on the left. Although in some areas where they kind of meet up, that's when it can cause tension, but Osaka, that's unique. But don't just stand on the wrong side, because it's really considered kind of a jerk move. So I want to explain a little bit more about how these cards work. Now, I showed you I have this Icoca card. Now, there's the Icoca card, there's the Suica card, and there's the Passmo card. They're all essentially the same thing. They're all kind of linked to the same network. So basically, anytime you put money on these and you use them to get in or out, it just kind of all goes to the same thing. So I highly recommend buying one of these cards. You have to pay like a one-time fee, and then you just kind of load it with cash. The other benefit to it is that it's kind of almost like a mini credit card. Like you'll see here, these are vending machines with the Passmo logo on them. And like, let's say I wanted one of these drinks, and it tells you the price there, 140 yen, which right now is about $1. And you could take that and you could pay for it by just scanning the card on there. I don't need anything currently, but that's how it works. I highly, 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 highly recommend getting one of these things. If you're ever here and you get to a point where you want to leave and you don't have enough money on your card, look for one of these. It's a sign that says fare adjustment. You'll put your card into the machine. It'll tell you how much money is on there and then how much you still need to put on. So make sure you have some cash. Japan's the only country I go to where I actually recommend having some cash on you, just because we can talk more about that later, but I have always usually about the equivalency of about $100 in cash on me, and then you can use them for these situations. You can do that by going to an ATM. I actually recommend doing an ATM at a convenience store like a 7-Eleven. Not that one, because that's just a little kiosk. but 7-Elevens will usually have an ATM that allows you to withdraw cash, typically without any special exchange fees. You'll have to talk to your bank specifically about that, but the ones that say the airport have some sort of convenience fee on top of them. The irony is a convenience store does not. So I have officially made it to my hotel room. It's not a very big room, but that was totally okay because all I really needed, private bathroom. We got that there. You have to kind of check on this when you book a hotel here because that's not always guaranteed. So yes, we're going to talk about the toilets. They are very fancy here. So the stereotype about the heated seat, that is all completely true. The seat is warm to the touch. Now, there's a control panel. You can turn that on, you can turn that off, all that sort of stuff. The reason for this isn't so much your comfort, although some people may enjoy that. Personally, I feel it's kind of gross. Like, sitting on it, it makes me feel like a fat guy, which I guess I am, but a different fat guy was sitting here just before me. That's how it feels. But the reason isn't for that. It's actually for sanitary reasons. In a lot of Asian countries, the idea of just sitting on a toilet publicly, like where anyone can do that, is considered disgusting. So a lot of like cultures will actually sit above it and just kind of like crouch. But anyway, so the reason it's heated is mostly to kill bacteria and the like, because it's a shared thing. But yes, it also has the bidet, infamously. You press that and it cleans you can kind of alter things like that and stop it. Each one has a slightly different system. Some are timed, etc. You can change the temperature of the seat, all that sort of thing. But usually it'll be dual language in Japanese and English. The room itself, it's basically just a place to sleep. Like, this is the end of the room. It's not big, but it was cheap. I paid like $40 a night for this place for 2 weeks. So this is just a place to put my stuff and to sleep. You know, the idea is that we go out, right? So again, it is Halloween tonight here in Japan. And there are actually some kids dressed up, not like a lot. It's also, I mean, I would think a little bit late, but you can see some there, as weird as that is, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to prove it is a thing. At this point though, all we're gonna do is, there's a 7-Eleven up the street, or as it's referred to here, 7 & I Holdings. Fun fact, 7-Eleven is actually a Japanese corporation. It's not American. It was founded in the US, but the Japanese bought it, and they do it so much better. So I want to get a coffee. You can see they have some variations on Starbucks coffees that we don't have, plus Costa Coffee. If you guys remember, I talked to you guys all about that in the Ireland video. That is a brand that originally, I believe, was British, and then it became a chain across the UK, Ireland, Portugal, other parts of Europe. Then Coca-Cola bought Costa Coffee to compete with Starbucks. But funny enough, Coca-Cola already has their own brand of coffee in Japan only, called Georgia. Guess that, you know, because of course Coca-Cola is based in Georgia. Very funny. But they also have special versions of Coca-Cola. That's actually Coca-Cola Plus. That is Coca-Cola with laxative. I am completely serious. Now, alternatively, if you're ever in here and you're at this section, you'll see this little red area. That basically means this is hot. These are actually hot. They are like warmed up. It's the exact same ones you saw, but they burn my hand to touch. But you have a bunch of flavors there. You also have exclusive ones because it's specifically supposed to be the hot ones. So here are the spoils. I got a sandwich. This is a shrimp cutlet, which is in there. It's kind of like a little bit like katsu, Japanese fried shrimp sandwich. And the other one is egg and aurora sauce, which is basically Japanese eggs are so good. We'll talk about that more later, but that's what I got. Also, 2 cans of coffee. This one was from the cold area I showed you, and this one's from the hot area, so I'm going to drink this one first. Very curious about this one. Roasty Notes. Why not? Now, I know what you might be thinking. Why didn't you go to a restaurant? Why didn't you do something fancy? Don't you always do that? Why are you showing us a sandwich from a convenience store? The thing is, 7-Eleven, as you know it, is not the same as it is in Japan. As I said, Japan actually owns it now, and they take great pride in that. They actually do like pretty high quality stuff, really surprisingly. I'm not going to say this is like a gourmet sandwich, but it's much better than the food you get in an American 7-Eleven. Like, it's not even close. I actually always advise people to it because it's also much cheaper than you'd think. Like, the 2 coffees plus this was about $3. Yeah, Japan's not as expensive as people think. I want to try really hard to sync up as much as possible. So I kind of have a rule in these situations, which is I never go to bed before 10 o'clock, you know. But that's like my ideal time to go to sleep. But when you're jet lagged like crazy, it's best to push yourself past your normal sleeping time just so you're even more tired, because I'm going to crash around midnight, at least that's the plan, and I should actually sleep enough that when I wake up I'll probably be correctly synced, and hopefully that doesn't come back, but you know, whatever. Coffee is going to help me achieve this goal.
So I don't normally do this, but I thought I would go ahead and show you guys some of the money, just because Japan actually does, you know, cash has its purpose, as you guys might have noticed, specifically for trains and certain restaurants, etc. But let's go over some of the denominations. So this is the 1 yen coin. You can almost think of this like a penny. There is no decimal place. That's why the numbers are so big, is essentially they do what the US does. They just don't use a decimal place. Just imagine a $1 bill, instead of being 1, was actually, you know, 100. They just got rid of the decimal place. That's all they did. So yeah, nothing gets smaller than this. These 1 yen coins are totally worthless. Like, the train machines will not take them. No machine seems to take them. The only context in which you can really use them, much like pennies, is generally at convenience stores. And just like pennies, they're irritating, where you have to sit there and count them out, and they're, you know, obviously not worth much, so whatever. The next one up, this is the 5 yen coin. This is almost like a nickel, I guess. These are just as useless, actually. The trains, again, will not take them. No machine will take them. The only thing you can really do with them is, once again, mix them in with pennies and try to, like, buy a Kit Kat or something. There is a 10 yen coin. I do not have one. It would obviously go right here. That is the smallest denomination that actually does work on the trains, in which, of course, the context in which I use them. Moving upward, we've got the 50 yen coin right there. And then we have the 100 yen coin right there. The 500 yen coin. Boom. Then we have the 1,000 yen bill. You can kind of think of this like a $10 bill, basically. I don't know what else comes beyond that. I know there's a 10,000 yen bill. I do have a 5,000 yen here, you can see. You can almost think of this as like a $50 bill. Even though currently this is probably worth more like $30, and this is worth more like $6. But at least USD at the time I'm recording this. There might be other denominations higher or lower than this, but I'm pretty sure, I know there's a 10,000. I don't know if there's anything in between these two, but there you go. Hopefully that helps.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning. Day 2. I don't know how long we're going to keep track of the whole days thing here. So the plan right now is that I'm going to go out and get something very small to nibble on, and then we're going to catch a train over to a little further south than where I am and go to a store called Hard Off, which everybody laughs at. But it's basically a used hardware store, so they have a lot of good video game stuff. I'm going to check that out and just show you guys some mixed electronics crossing the street here. And then I'll come back to where I am, and I'm going to hit up a sushi place that I really quite enjoy. But I thought that before we get too far with this, I would also explain some stuff, because I kind of hadn't really done that until now. And I'll let you guys kind of look at the pretty Yokohama background. So you might notice a lot of people are still wearing their masks, and that's kind of a big deal here. So if I weren't filming this footage, I would actually put this right back on. That's a big deal here. For entry requirements, at the time I'm here, you have to be triple vaccinated. So keep that in mind, because I know not everybody's comfortable with both of those things. But that's the way it is currently in Japan. So I got a very small breakfast that I'm going to have before we have bigger food later. Basically, it's like a fruit sandwich. They call it muscat. It's basically grapes. And then, of course, it has pineapple and peaches and like a fruit cream sauce. I've had it before. You know, it's not that big, but that's good. That's all we need, is just kind of a jump start thing. And also some coffee. Now, the thing is, I'm actually standing like right outside the convenience store. Now, here's the thing in Japan, is that eating and walking is considered rude, kind of like almost like using the bathroom outside. Like, as long as you're standing there, it's fine. But if you're like walking around eating, that's considered gross. So drinking and walking is okay, at least with non-alcoholic drinks. I don't know about the ethics of alcoholic drinks while doing that, but that's a different discussion. But anyway, I'm going to eat my little sandwich here. For anyone curious what this actually tastes like, I mean, it's just fruit and bread, obviously. Higher quality, it's nice stuff. But the cream is basically like Cool Whip. You can make this at home, obviously, but just basically take a bunch of fruit, some Cool Whip, put it between some bread. That's what I'm eating. and it costs like $1. One thing you will struggle with, as you can see, there's some trash there, is finding trash cans. They're really very rarely publicly displayed. A lot of time you'll find the recycling ones next to vending machines. Those are very useful. But like straight up trash cans can be oddly difficult to find.
Here's an example of a local Japanese license plate. I'm not really sure how this breaks down by prefecture, but there you go.
So it's possible that you're out there and you've never been here and you're thinking like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to land the trains. That seems really complicated. I don't like the trains in the US, which, by the way, the only places in the US that do trains well is Chicago and New York. And I wouldn't actually argue that New York actually does it all that well. But anyway, Japanese trains are very different. Highly recommended. It's the most economical way to get around. It's actually very easy. A lot of stuff is dual language in English. But here's the thing. Here, driving around you'll see a lot of cars, obviously. But here, driving around is a luxury. A cab, an Uber, which does exist, by the way, is really only done for people who have a lot of money, because it's not economical. I mean, like, the cab drivers here wear white gloves because it's like considered a fancy thing. You can do it, but it will cost you a lot. I really just recommend the train.
Something else I think worth pointing out is, do not forget that Japan is, of course, a series of islands. Island countries always do this. They drive on the opposite side of the road. So like the UK, Ireland, Australia, or the US Virgin Islands, oddly enough, they drive that direction. Here it is, guys. This is hard off, as well as off house. So the whole off thing is basically like a line of stores. They have different ones: hard off, book off, garage off, house off, liquor off, which is pretty funny. But they're basically all just like thrift stores of certain concepts. A lot of the time they get packaged together. I love going to these places, and it's been way too long, man. 3 years. So this is House Off. House Off has a lot of household things. It also has a lot of toys and stuff like that. If you want toys specifically, I recommend Hobby Off. But this place still has a decent enough little selection. Where we're going is Hard Off, which is upstairs. But I thought I'd give you guys a little look at stuff. You get a lot of, obviously it's all Japanese stuff. Whoa, the American Godzilla as a toy in Japan. That's kind of messing with my mind a little bit. The movie sucked. Then you get like the weird Japanese versions of American IP, some Toy Story toys, Japanese only, etc. All the anime junk. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's basically the Transmetal 3 line. We never actually got that. Yeah, I know my Beast Wars. Hope you guys like that jingle, because you'll hear it a lot. It just kind of plays on a loop.
So I just left on my first shopping experience there in years. Just kind of interesting seeing what kind of muscle memory comes back, as far as like, I don't speak Japanese, obviously, but I do know a few phrases, specifically in the context of checking out at lines. And it was very interesting to see like what came back, and it all worked. So if you're in Japan and you're buying stuff, one big piece of advice I'll give you is, I always recommend credit cards to everybody in general, as long as you have financial responsibility, of course. But they're very easy, because provided you have one with no foreign transaction fees, you don't have to deal with cash as much. Now in Japan, they really didn't have the credit card for like the longest time. I mean, like when I first came here in like 2017, like it was kind of, I'm not even kidding about this, it was kind of sort of being introduced around then. Like they had it, but it wasn't very common. They were pushing it in anticipation for the 2020 Olympics. Anyway, so the reason I'm telling you this is there isn't always this great understanding of when it makes sense to use a credit card versus when it doesn't. In the United States, for example, you can use a credit card whenever, but the only time you'd ever pay with, say, installments for anything would be on a big purchase, maybe like a TV or something. Here, they'll ask you that no matter what you're buying, most of the time, except for maybe like a 7-Eleven won't ask you for like a can of coffee. But like, I'm not kidding. Like, I've been in places where I was buying like a bottle of water and like a candy bar or something, and they're like, how many installments do you want to pay in? It took me forever to understand what they were talking about. So what you always want to say in that context is ichi, just buy it all in one transaction. There's no reason to deal with an installment plan for a candy bar. So keep that in mind. They'll always ask you if you need a bag, and there's a phrase you can learn, which is "teipo de daijoubu desu," means like just tape it up, I'm good, I don't need that. Daijoubu desu means like if somebody tries to hand you something and you're not interested in it, just say, that means no, I'm good, like thanks. And of course, you can never say arigato gozaimasu enough times. Oh, and there's some etiquette when you're paying for stuff. You'll notice this like little bin type of thing. That's where you put your cash or your credit card whenever you intend to pay for stuff. The Japanese like stuff in a very specific sequence, and when you go outside of that sequence, it can cause problems. The sweaty man is going to go get some sushi now. We're going to go to a place called Kura Sushi. Now, Kura Sushi is a chain, kind of like, I mean, to be brutally honest, if you tell a Japanese person you're going to Kura Sushi, they'll probably laugh at you because it's like saying you're going to McDonald's. But by American standards, it's amazing. It's also super cheap, which is awesome. It's one of those conveyor belt places. Each item is typically like 50 cents per item, although I'm curious to see if that's changed. We shall find out. So we're inside, and when you come in, there's like a little screen where you fill out a bunch of stuff. It's very simple, and it basically just prints out a number and says go to that one. So I'm at table, this is 42, guess where I'm at 41. Then the screen activates, there's a little button just to kind of start things up. I can choose my language, which they have English, which makes my life easier. I would like to play that game, and so you'll have this little capsule toy thing that'll happen later. And now everything's in English, so you have two options. You can either just, you know, when you see something, you just take it and go like that, or you can order stuff specifically, and that stuff will come on this top line. It's great. And at the end, you just throw these plates in here, and every 5 plates gets you some points or whatever, and then you can try to win a Gashapon toy. I'm more about the food, but why not try to win a Gashapon toy? So I've started here. I've got, this is Japanese egg with beef. Japanese eggs are amazing, some green onions. This is like salmon, cooked salmon with like a cheese mayo type of sauce. And this is like a raw salmon right there. You have two options beverage-wise. So you can get, this is hot water. I believe you can then make matcha tea right there. Alternatively, if you want cold water, up at the front, I think that's what that sign right there indicates, although I could be wrong, but basically where that sign was, there's just like a cold water pump that looks similar to this. I mean, the red is hot, blue is cold. Very easy to do, and that's what I've got here. I think that's mackerel, and I don't even know what that is, but we're going for it. It's always good, man. It's always good. Plus, you can figure out what you don't like. Shrimp is one of my favorites. I just had one that was like shrimp and the cheese stuff, but this is just straight up standard shrimp. God, I love this. Oh, and for the record, you occasionally have seen these prices go by. So that's 115 yen. Currently, that's like 80 cents for most of these. Each plate or so is about 80 cents, is what it looks like. So I didn't get a chance to show it, but my item just kind of rolled right out there, and then this came off, and then the screen says like, hey, take your item, and then it knows, and boom. Now this is one of my favorite things ever. This is tempura fried shrimp. Personally, I don't think you should eat the shrimp tails, but people do that. I do not. Those will be removed. But right now it's like piping hot, so I will wait. So I've got 10 plates there, plus this one, to round it out and make 5 every 5. So 3 shots at a Gashapon. I should have 15, so I'm gonna have 4 more. I've ordered 2 more things. We're doing a lot of math here, but we're gonna have a total of 4 more, is what I'm saying. And here are my 2 final sweet shrimp, which again we're gonna take the tails off, and this is just like happiness. So I put 5 plates in, and this automatically happens. Now the question is, do I win anything? Probably not. You very rarely do, but it's not impossible. The bigger question is, if I win anything, do I even care? I guess I won. Hey, I actually won. What do you know? Very cool. I won a capsule toy. Mang. So I just left. A little bit of etiquette when you're in there. So at the very end, when you're ready to check out, there's a button that actually says check out. You'll hear this little noise, and then someone will come over to you, and they basically just kind of like checking your table. And what she's essentially saying is like, take the piece of paper you got when you came in. You saw the little receipt I had that said 41 on it. You take that along with your payment method. You go up to the front desk, and there's kind of a self-checkout type of deal where you scan the little ticket, and then you pay with your credit card, whatever. And eventually you get a receipt. It says everything. So it's 1,925 yen, which is $13. $13 for 15 pieces of sushi. Fantastic. And there was really good stuff too. Very, very happy. And that'll do it for part 1. Please stay tuned for the rest of this series, which, believe it or not, I'm not joking when I say this. This is 10 episodes.
I was in Japan for 2 weeks. Give me a break. Yeah, the next one will be all about shopping and food, and I'm actually going to give you some nostalgia berries. I'm going to take you to a chain that has not existed in the United States for quite some time. So please stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe as always. Follow me on all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, etc. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you all later.